Hey everyone, how's everybody doing today? We're going to be reading chapter 8 today. I'm not sure we're going to be going to the dates because upload speeds are very slow for me at home. But I'm going to try to upload them as much as I can when I get a faster upload speed, whether it's a home or somewhere else where I can use publicly. Don't worry, I'll be practicing social distancing as well. I think you're going to be getting this on Thursday, April 2nd, and I was uploaded 2 of them today. So you should have the one from Tuesday, March 31st, and now today, April Fool's. I was kind of joking around that maybe we'll just wake up and say, haha, April Fool's, this is the government, go back to your normal lives, but unfortunately that's not the case. But I did read a positive, always looking for the positives, that coronavirus cases are down 14% in the state of Wisconsin, which means that social distancing is working, and hopefully we can bring that number down. So, you may think, well, this is really tough for me, and it is, don't get me wrong, but we're doing the right thing. And if it means that somebody can spend an extra hour or spend an extra year or an extra month with a loved one, I'm all for it. I mean, my parents are 80 years old, and I keep thinking we're doing this not because of, so we can be inconvenienced, but because of loved ones that have made underlying health conditions that are elderly. So positive note, we're down 14%, and that's the good thing that we want to have, okay? All right, so now we're in chapter 8. We noticed that the last chapter, Bud was very disappointed because Miss Hill is currently living in Chicago, Illinois, and she's married, and he's trying to figure out how long is it going to take for him to walk there. So we don't know if he does or not, so let's go ahead and start on chapter 8. Something stepped on a little stick. As soon as a twig cracked, my eyes snapped. As soon as a twig cracked, my eyes snapped open, and I was wide awake. I held my breath and kept as still as I could. Whatever it was that was sneaking up on me knew I'd woke up because it stopped moving and kept as still as it could too. Even though my head was still under my blanket, I could feel 2 eyes staring at me real hard. And I knew these weren't critter eyes. These eyes made the hair on the back of my neck raise up the way only human being eyes can do. Without wiggling or jiggling around too much under my blanket, I got my fingers wrapped around my jackknife. Right when I was ready to push the covers off of me and start running or stabbing, whoever it was that had been watching jumped right on top of me. I was as trapped as a roach under a dish rag. I tried to guess the exact spot that the person's heart was at, then pulled my knife back. A voice said, "If you ain't a kid called Bud from the home, I'm really sorry about jumping on you like this." It was Bugs! When I tried to talk, it felt like I had to suck all the air out of Flint. I finally got breathing right and said, "Doggone it, Bugs, it is me. You nearly scared me to death." He got off of me and I threw the blanket over the side. "You don't know how lucky you are. I was just about fixing to stab you in the heart." Bugs looked like he knew he just had a real close call. He said, "I'm sorry, Bud. I didn't mean to scare you, but everybody knows how you like to sleep with that knife open, so I figured I'd better grab hold of you so you wouldn't wake up slicing nobody." Shucks, even though it was Bugs who come real close to getting his heart poked, I was the one who was still having trouble catching my breath. I asked, "Hey, how come you aren't back at the home?" But before he had a chance to answer, I knew, "You're on the lam." Bugs said, "Yep, I'm going back to riding the rails. When I heard about you beating that kid up so bad that you had to take off, I figured it was time for me to get going too. I thought you might be hanging around the library, so I come down to see if you want to go with me. Where are you headed?" "There's always fruits to be picked out west. I heard we can make enough money to get by out there. There's supposed to be a train leaving sometime tomorrow." "Did you really beat that kid up in the foster home?" I said, "Uh-huh. We kind of had a fight. How long is it going to take to get out west?" Bugs said, "Depends on how many trains you got to hop." "Was he really 2 years older than you?" "Uh-huh. He was 12. "Is it fun to hop a train?" "Some of the time it is. Some of the time it's scary. We heard he was kind of big too, was he?" I said, "He was pretty big. I can't see how he can hop on a train. They look like they're moving pretty doggone fast." Bugs said, "Most times you don't hop them when they're going fast. Most times you try to climb on one when it's sitting in the train yard." Did the guy cry after you whooped him?" "Well, kind of. He looked real scared, then told his mama to keep me away from him. They even said I was a hoodlum." "Will we be sleeping on the train and everything?" Did you notice the dialogue, what's going on? Bud's interested in one. Bugs is totally doesn't care about the train. He's more interested in the fight. I think it's kind of funny where their mind is right now. "Sure we will. Some of the train don't stop for 2 or 3 days. Man, I always try to tell people that just because someone's skinny, it don't mean they can't fight. you're a hero now, bud. Nah, that didn't really do nothing much. Well, how about the toilet? How are we going to use the toilet if the train doesn't stop? Buck said, you just kind of lean out the door and go. When the train is still moving, yeah, you get a real nice breeze. Oh man, that sounds great. Count me in. I can't wait. Buck spit a big glob of slob in his hand and said, I knew I could depend on you, bud. I spit a big glob in my hand and said, we're brothers forever, Bugs. Don't do that now. We slapped our hands together as hard as we could and got our slobs mixed up real good, then waved them in the air so they dried. Now it was official. I finally had a brother. Bugs said, we'll go on the mission. There's bound to be someone there that knows about where we can hop this train. Then we'll be in the Wham together. We found out that we'd have to go to a city called Hooperville, just outside Flint. The only trouble was nobody knew exactly where Hooperville was. It was dark before we found out the right direction. I'd never heard of a city that was so doggone hard to find. We walked on a trail through some woods that run right up against Thread Creek. We could tell we were getting close to Hooperville because we heard somebody playing a mouth organ, and the smell of food cooking was getting stronger. We kept walking in the direction that the sky was glowing with the orangish light. When we could hear the music real clear and folks talking to each other and the sound of sticks cracking in a fire, we started cutting through the trees. That way we could peek into Hooperville first. We looked out from behind a big tree and saw that a big wind or even 2 or 3 big wolves huffing and puffing real hard could blow Hooperville into the next county. It was a bunch of huts and shacks thrown together out of pieces of boxes of wood and cloth, and the Amos shed would have looked like a real fancy house here. Right near our tree was the big fire that had been lighting up the sky. It looked like 100 people were sitting around it, watching things burn or waiting for the food cooking in 3 big pots set up in the fire. There were 2 littler fires burning in Hooperville. One had a pot that was big enough to boil a whole person in it. A man was stirring things in the pot with a big stick. And when he raised the stick up, he'd pull out some more breeches or a shirt out and pass over to a white man who was hanging the clothes on a line to dry. There was a mountain of clothes on the ground next to him waiting on their turn. The other fire in Hooperville was real small. It was off to the side by itself. There were 5 white people sitting at this fire, 2 kids, a man, and a woman holding up a little wrapped up baby. The baby sounded like all those new sick babies at the home. It was coughing like it was a half-dead little animal. Bugs whispered, shoot, this ain't no city. This is just another cardboard jungle. A what? A cardboard jungle. Somewhere you can get off the train and clean up and get something to eat without the cops chasing you out of town. I said, well, what are we going to do? We can't just go busting into this city and expect someone to feed us, can we? Bugs said, one of us has got to talk to them. Let's flip for it. Okay. Bugs rumbled around his pocket and found a penny. He rumbled it up against his britches and said, heads, I win. Tails, you lose. Okay. He flipped the penny up into the air and caught it, then slapped it down on the back of his left hand. He peeked underneath his right hand to see, and a big smile cracked his face. Shucks. Bugs said, Tails, you lose. Dang. So what should I say? I will ask him if this is Hooperville and see if they got any extra food. I moved out from behind our tree and walked over toward the biggest fire. I waited until some folks noticed me, then said, excuse me, is this here Hooperville? The man who was playing the mouth organ stopped, and everyone else around the fire looked up at me. One of the white men said, what is it you looking for? I said, a city called Hooperville, sir. And they all laughed. The mouth organ said, nah, son, what you're looking for is Hooverville with a V, like in President Herbert Hoover. I said, oh, is this it, sir? The man said, this is one of them. I said, one of them? He answered, they're all over the country. This here is the Flint version. And all of them are called Hooverville? That's right. Mr. Hoover worked so hard at making sure that every city has got one that it seems like it would be criminal to call them anything else. Someone said, that's the truth. I said, well, how are we going to know if we're in the right one? The mouth organ man said, are you hungry? Yes, sir. Are you tired? Yes, sir. Are you scared about what's going to happen tomorrow? I didn't want anyone to think I was a baby, so I said, not exactly scared, sir. Maybe I am a little bit nervous. The man smiled and said, well, son, any place where there are other folks that needed the same things that you are is the right place to be. This is exactly the Hooverville you're looking for. I knew what the man was trying to say. This was the exact same kind of circle talking and cross talking that Mama used to do. Bugs hadn't had that kind of practice. He came from behind a tree and said, I don't get it. You said there were Hoovervilles all over the place. What if we was looking for the Hooverville in Detroit or Chicago? How could this be the right one to be in? The man said, you boys from Flint? I said, yes, sir. The man waved his mouth organ like a magic wand and pointed all over the little cardboard city. Boys, he said, look around you. The city was bigger than I thought it was. The raggedy little huts were in every direction you looked. And there were more people sitting around them than I first thought to. Mostly it was men and big boys, but there were a couple of women every now and then, and a kid or two. They were all the colors you could think of, black, white, and brown, but the fire made everyone look like they were different shades of orange. There were dark orange folks sitting next to medium orange folks sitting next to light orange folks. All these people, the mouth organ man said, are just like you. They're tired, hungry, and a little bit nervous about tomorrow. This here is the right place for y'all to be because we're all in the same boat. And you boys are nearer to home than you'll ever get. Someone said, amen, brother. The mouth organ man said, it don't matter if you're looking for Chicago or Detroit or Orlando or Oklahoma City. I rode the rails to all of them. You might think or you might hear that things are better just down the line, but they're singing the same sad song all over this country. Believe me, son, being on the road is no good. If you two boys are from Flint, this is the right Hooverville for you. Someone said, brother, why don't we feed these boys? That one looks like he ain't at in 2 or 3 months. Shucks, you didn't have to point or anything. Everyone knew who he meant. But I didn't care. The food that was bubbling up in those 3 big pots even sounded delicious. The mouth organ man said, you're welcome to join us, but we all pitch in here. So it's so unless either one of you is carrying one of them smoked West Virginia hams in them bags, it looks like you'll be pulling KP tonight. I said, pulling what, sir? He said, KP, kitchen police. You do the cleanup after everyone's had their fill. There's a couple of other young folks who'll show you what you have to do. Me and Bugs both said, yes, sir. It seemed like a real good trade. A woman handed me and Bugs each a flat, square, empty tin can. That, my lords, is your china. Please be careful not to chip it. My china had the word jumbo A&P sardines stamped into the bottom of it. She handed us 2 beat-up old spoons and said, don't be shy. You two just about missed supper. You best hurry up. She took us over to one of the big pots and filled up our tin plates. You're lucky, she said. It's muskrat stew. And there's plenty left over tonight. Eat as much as you can. The stew was made out of dandelion greens and a couple of potatoes and some small wild carrots and some crawdads and a couple of little chunks of meat. It tasted great. But I guess when you're hungry, you'll pretty much eat anything. Mm-hmm. We both even got seconds. When we were done, the woman told us, you boys leave your bag here. It's time to do the dishes now. Uh-oh. Ma'am, I like to keep my suitcase with me wherever I go. I promise you your suitcase will be safe here. I remember the Amoses had promised the same thing. I said, you'll watch it yourself, ma'am? You'll make sure no one looks inside of it? She said, son, we don't have no thieving in here. We all look out for each other. I said, thank you, ma'am, and put my suitcase down near the woman's feet. Me, Bugs, a little white boy, and a little girl loaded a whole mess of dirty tin cans and spoons and a couple of real plates and forks into a big wooden box and lugged them down to Thread Creek. Mm-hmm. The little girl had been in Hooverville the longest, so she got to tell us, the rest of us, what to do. She said, I don't suppose neither one of you new boys knows how to do dishes the right way, do you? Me and Bugs had done tons of dishes in the home, so I said, sure we do. We used to be real good at cleaning up. Bugs said, dang, girl, you act like this is the first cardboard jungle I've been in. I know how you do dishes out here. She said, okay then, we'll split them up. You and you. She pointed at Bugs and the other kid can do half, and me and this boy can do the others. What's your name? I said, Bud, not Buddy. She said, I'm Deza Malone. Deza handed Bugs and the other little boy some rags and some soap powder, and they started splashing the dishes in the water. We may have to stop because it's getting long and I have a 1 o'clock Zoom appointment, so we might have to stop halfway. So me and the girl walked a little farther up the creek and started unloading the rest of the dishes. You dry, I'll wash, she said. She handed me a rag, and just as soon as she splashed one of the tin cans in the water and gave it to me, I'd dry it and stick it in the wooden box. She said, where you say he was from? Flint, right here. So you and your friend come down here to get on that train tomorrow? Where's it going? Chicago, she said. Mm-hmm. Is that west from here? Uh-huh. Then, yep, that's where we're heading. I said, where are you from? Lancaster, Pennsylvania. You gonna take the train too? She said, uh-huh. My daddy is. Folks say there's work out west, so he's gonna try again. So you're gonna wait here for him? Uh-huh. She was real fast at washing the dishes, but I noticed that she got kind of slow, was touching my hand a lot when it came to giving them to me. All right, we are gonna stop there. We're only about halfway done to the chapter, and this is actually one of the longer chapters. So we actually may have to break this down into thirds, which is, I think, is gonna be okay. All right, so anyways, as you can see, I got a hat. And the B stands for Boston. And I want you to tell me, where is Boston located? What state? And what's the name of the team, the major league team that plays in Boston? Now, they have quite a history, so I want you to dig as back as you can. They're also one of the founding members of Major League Baseball. A good friend of mine lives in Boston, and I want you to tell me something unique about their stadium and what the stadium name is. And there's some kind of novelty at that stadium that is actually really cool. And if you've ever get a chance to go there, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of history. So I want you to tell me about 2 or 3 famous players. They've had a lot of famous players because they've been around for so long. And so that's it for today. We'll pick up another part of chapter 8 tomorrow. And take care, guys. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.